There's a part of you that you've never met. It's not the voice in your head. It's not the personality you've built over the years. And it's definitely not the story you tell yourself about who you are. It's something deeper, something untouched, something real. But here's the problem. Your mind has been keeping it out of reach. Not by accident, but by design. Right now, you're standing at the edge of something you were never taught to see. And once you step beyond it, you won't just understand yourself differently, you'll feel it. Stay with me. By the end of this, you'll see what's been hidden in plain sight your entire life. Let's begin. 1. The illusion of self. Who you think you are is just a story. Most people go through life convinced that they know who they are. They have a name, a history, a personality. They have preferences, fears, memories, things they believe make them unique. But let me ask you this. Who were you before someone told you who you were? As a child, you didn't have a strong sense of identity. You were just aware, experiencing life without labeling yourself. But as you grew up, you were given an identity. Your parents, teachers, and society told you what was acceptable and what wasn't. You were praised for some things, punished for others. Slowly, without realizing it, you built a version of yourself based on these experiences. You started identifying with your thoughts. I am smart, I am shy, I am strong, I am weak, I am good at this but bad at that. But where did these beliefs come from? Did you choose them? Or were they given to you? The mind creates a narrative, a story that becomes you. But here's the shocking part. This story is just that, a story. It's not the real you. It's a mental construct shaped by external influences, past experiences, and subconscious conditioning. And the more you believe in this story, the more trapped you become. You think you're making choices, but in reality, you're following a script that was written long before you even realized it existed. But here's the most important question. Who are you without that script? 2. The mind as a barrier. Why you can't see the truth. Imagine you've been living in a house with no windows since birth. You've never seen the outside world, so you assume that this house is all there is. One day, someone tells you that there's an entire world outside, but you don't believe them. After all, you've never seen it. Your reality is limited to what you've always known. This is exactly what your mind does to you. It keeps you trapped inside a mental structure, a house built from thoughts, beliefs, and past conditioning. Every experience you've ever had was processed through this mental filter, shaping your view of reality. But what if that filter was blocking the truth? Your mind is an incredible tool, but it is also the biggest barrier to true self-awareness. It constantly seeks certainty, stability, and familiarity. It avoids discomfort, resists change, and clings to old patterns. It feeds you endless thoughts, some useful, most automatic and repetitive. And here's the thing. Most of your thoughts are not even yours. They are echoes of society, conditioning from childhood, fears inherited from past generations. You don't control them. They appear automatically, shaped by external influences. So if your mind is constantly filling your head with programmed thoughts, how can you ever discover the real you? The truth is, you can't think your way to the real you. You have to go beyond thought entirely. 3. The silent observer. Who is watching your thoughts? Right now, as you listen to this, thoughts are appearing in your mind. Maybe you're agreeing. Maybe you're resisting. Maybe you're questioning everything. But here's what I want you to do. Step back for a second and observe. Who is watching these thoughts? If you can notice your thoughts, then clearly you are not your thoughts. Most people never realize this. They assume the voice in their head is who they are. They spend their entire lives listening to it, obeying it, believing it. But what happens when you take a step back and simply observe? You start to notice something incredible. The real you is not the thoughts, not the emotions, not the personality traits you've identified with. The real you is the silent awareness behind all of it. This observer has been with you since the beginning. It has watched every thought, every experience, every belief come and go. It is untouched by fear, undisturbed by opinions, unaffected by the constant noise of the mind. And the moment you start identifying with the observer instead of the thoughts, everything changes. Your thoughts lose their power over you. Your emotions stop controlling you. The endless mind chatter quiets down. And for the first time, you begin to experience true awareness. The ego's grip, why your mind fights to keep you trapped. Now, if this is true, if the real you is simply awareness, then why don't more people wake up to it? Why do we stay trapped in our mental stories, constantly suffering, constantly seeking something more? The answer is simple. The mind doesn't want you to wake up. The mind, more specifically the ego, depends on your identification with thoughts. It needs you to believe in the story of me, because without it, the ego does not exist. This is why every time you try to be present, your mind pulls you back into thinking. Every time you try to let go of past pain, your mind reminds you of it. Every time you feel a moment of deep clarity, the ego rushes in to bring back the illusion. It does this through fear of losing control, fear of the unknown, fear of emptiness. But here's the truth. The real you doesn't need control. The real you isn't afraid of the unknown, because the real you has been watching this entire illusion unfold from the very beginning. The ego can create endless problems, endless distractions, endless suffering, but it can't change one thing. You are still here, watching. And the moment you realize that, the ego's grip weakens. 5. Waking up. How to break free and reclaim yourself. So how do you escape this illusion? How do you reconnect with the real you when your mind is constantly pulling you back? The first step is simple. Stop identifying with your thoughts. Every time a thought appears, instead of reacting, simply observe it. See it for what it is, just a passing cloud in the sky of your awareness. The second step, practice stillness. The more you sit in silence, the more you start to see the gaps between thoughts. And in those gaps, you begin to feel the presence of something deeper. The third step, question everything. Every belief, every assumption, every mental pattern. Ask yourself, where did this come from? Is this truly me? The more you question, the more cracks you create in the illusion. And finally, let go. Let go of needing an answer. Let go of needing to define yourself. The real you is not something to be found. It's something to be remembered. Because it has always been here, watching, waiting. And the moment you stop searching outside for who you are, you finally return home to yourself. 6. The illusion of time. Why the present moment is the key. Your mind has one powerful trick to keep you trapped. It convinces you that time is real. Think about it. Where does your mind spend most of its energy? It's either dragging you into the past or pulling you into the future. You replay old memories, regretting things you did or didn't do. You create mental movies about the future, worrying about what might happen, or hoping for things to turn out a certain way. But here's the shocking truth. The past and future do not exist. Right now, try to touch the past. Try to step into the future. You can't. They only exist as thoughts inside your mind. Everything that has ever happened in your life, every experience, every emotion, every moment, has only happened now. But the mind doesn't want you to see this. It keeps you stuck in mental time travel, distracting you from the one place where the real you actually exists. The present. Most people live as prisoners of time. They wake up already thinking about the next thing they have to do. They rush through life, always seeking the next moment, never fully arriving in this one. And before they know it, years have passed, and they don't even remember what it felt like to truly live. But here's the paradox. The real you exists outside of time. When you become fully present, something incredible happens. The mental noise begins to fade. The weight of the past loses its grip. The anxiety about the future disappears. And for the first time, you experience what it means to just be. Try this. Right now, shift your attention away from thought and onto your direct experience. Notice the sensation of your breath, the feeling of your body, the space around you. What happens? For a brief moment, your mind stops. This is the power of presence. The moment you become fully aware of now, the grip of the mind weakens. Because the real you does not exist in the past or the future. It exists only in this moment. And the more time you spend here, the more you start to wake up from the illusion. 7. The death of the false self. What happens when you let go? Most people fear losing their sense of self. The idea of letting go feels like disappearing, like stepping into the unknown. But here's the truth. The false self was never real to begin with. Everything you think you are, your personality, your fears, your desires, are nothing more than mental constructs. They are thoughts appearing and disappearing, shifting and changing. If you were to strip away every belief, every thought, every label you've ever placed on yourself, what would remain? Most people assume that if they let go of their identity, they will become nothing. They fear that without their stories, their attachments, their struggles, there will be no one left. But what if that's not true? What if instead of becoming nothing, you become everything? Because when you let go of the false self, what remains is pure awareness, an infinite open space of existence that is not bound by thoughts, opinions, or limitations. This is why spiritual teachers throughout history have said the same thing. The greatest awakening is not about adding more knowledge, more achievements, or more success. It is about removing everything that is not truly you. But the false self, the mind-made identity, will fight for survival. It will create fear, resistance, doubt. It will convince you that you need it. It will whisper in your ear, "Without me, you won't exist." But the moment you let go, you realize the truth. You were never the false self. You were always something far greater. And when this realization dawns on you, the illusion collapses. 8. The real you, returning to your natural state. So if you are not your thoughts, your beliefs, or your identity, then who are you? This is the ultimate question. And the answer is something that can't be explained. It can only be experienced. The real you is not something you have to create. It is something you have to remember, because it has always been here. It was here when you were a child, before you learned to label yourself. It was here in moments of deep silence, when your mind became still. It was here in every second of your life, watching, waiting, untouched by the chaos of the thinking mind. The real you is awareness itself. Not a thought, not a personality, not a belief system. Just pure, infinite awareness. This is why spiritual traditions often talk about enlightenment as a state of returning home. Because you are not becoming something new, you are simply returning to your original state. A state of presence. A state of peace. A state where you are no longer bound by mental illusions. And the best part? You don't have to seek this state. You don't have to go anywhere to find it, because you are already it. All you have to do is stop identifying with the illusion. 9. Living beyond the mind, how to stay awake in everyday life. Once you awaken to the truth, the challenge is staying awake. Because even after you realize the mind's illusion, it will try to pull you back in. It will create distractions, emotions, and fears. It will try to convince you that nothing has changed. And if you're not careful, you will fall back asleep. This is why presence must become a daily practice. Every moment of your life you have a choice. You can either be lost in thought, reacting to the mind's endless chatter, or you can be fully aware, living from a place of deep clarity. Try this. Throughout your day, pause for a moment. Bring your attention fully to the present. Notice the sounds around you, the feeling of your breath, the sensations in your body. In that moment, you will realize that there is nothing to worry about, nothing to chase, nothing to fix. Everything is already whole, already complete. And the more you live from this awareness, the more life begins to flow effortlessly. Because the real you is not separate from life. It is life itself. 10. The final truth. You were never lost, only asleep. The journey to discovering the real you is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what was always there. You were never lost. You were never broken. The real you was never missing. You were simply asleep, dreaming the dream of the mind. And now, you are waking up. But this is not the end. It is just the beginning. Because once you see the illusion for what it is, you can never unsee it. And from this moment forward, your life will never be the same. The mind will still try to control you. The world will still try to pull you back into its distractions. But now, you know the truth. And the truth is this: you are not your mind. You are not your thoughts. You are not the story you've been told. You are something far greater. You are the silent awareness. And you always have been. If this video resonated with you or helped shift your perspective in any way, let me know by tapping that like button. And if you're ready to go even deeper, the video on your screen right now is exactly what you need to see next. Click it now, and I'll see you there.